lesson I'll teach you today is if you're going to go present somewhere, find an old computer. Don't use these new MacBooks because the dongle issues are never ending. So, hi everyone, I'm Lindsay Munro, and I'm currently a social media strategist at Adobe. I spend my days working on a product called Adobe XD. It's one of our newer products. It's for design and prototyping. If you design things for screens, you might want to check it out. Okay. Sorry, I'm like going between two screens here. So a big part of my job is developing engaging social first campaigns that drive awareness and active use of our products. I also spend a lot of time developing content to help reinforce Adobe's position as a thought leader in design. So, we are missing some slides here. We're off to a good start. Okay. Oh, here we go. So this is some of the activities I did. Again, we are now working on the PDF and document, so all of my fancy animations are no longer there. But I helped launch World Interaction Design Day, which is a global event. I oversee all of the content for our UX UI category on the Adobe blog. I worked with Gimlet Media to launch Adobe's first branded podcast, Wireframe, hosted by our designer Coyvin. Happy to talk about that a little bit too, because I imagine that resonates with some of you here. I work with influencers to develop resources for the community. I manage our social media influencer program for our flagship conference, Adobe Max. And I do also random things like working on customer videos with Tony Hawk, who designed his new mobile game using the app we use. So creating really interesting content and community-driven events for social media is a big part of what I do. So, in terms of social media strategies, for the last decade or so, I have worked on social media strategy for both small and large brands. The platforms have changed a lot, the attitudes have changed a lot, and influencers have become a thing. I watched social media evolve from a novelty to a necessary, and for a really long time, practitioners like me had to fight the good fight to get social media to be taken seriously. So while social media has evolved quite a bit since I started out, communications principles have not. First and foremost, I see social media as a tool in a communications professional's toolbox. It's really a means to reach people. I don't focus a whole lot on social media as a tool to directly sell products. It's not really what I do. There's nothing wrong with that. I just won't be spending a whole lot of time on that today. It's just not really my focus area. I believe in social media as a means to sort of build and engage communities and brands and products around those communities. And I think there is inherent business value to this. It's just really all the activities that we have tend to have a halo effect on sales. So if we're looking at a typical sales funnel here, you'll see that social media really has its most impact on awareness, discovery, and loyalty. While it does have an impact on things like evaluation, intent, and purchase, I think it adds the most value in the areas that I've identified here. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the sort of key components of social media strategy. I put together a bunch of slides to do that, but I'm going to leave a bunch of time at the end, hopefully, despite all the tech issues, so we can dig into you guys asking specific questions about things that are important to you. Whether that's challenges you're facing on social, my work on the Wireframe podcast, with Gimlet, what it's like to live in the US. I actually just spent the last 5 years living in the Bay Area and just moved home to Canada, which is, I'm originally from Canada, I'm happy to be back here. Really anything related to those. So when we're looking at the components of the social media strategy, it's goal, objective, strategy, audience, tactics, budget, and measurement. So you're probably wondering what do catalogs have to do with this. So examples really help, and I'm really hoping to keep this session somewhat interactive. So answering from in-control titled this deck in a bit of a crazy cat lady. I was trying to find an excuse to put in lots of photos of cats with wigs on, and I thought we could use cat wigs as a fake business to kind of build a strategy around to drag some of my points home. And if nothing else, that's kind of fun to look at. So, starting with the goal. This is your high-level ones. Unless you're the owner of your own business, or you're doing it all, which, can we get a show of hands, like how many people are really just doing it all themselves, or, okay, so fair, a lot of you in the room. I'll adjust some of my points based on that. So this is really when you think about where your goal on social comes from, it really originates from your overarching business goal. So for some of you, that might be increase the number of subscribers to your podcast. For Catwigs, it might be grow your FY19 sales revenue by 10%. But what you're going to do with that larger business goal is you're going to take it and then tailor it to social media. Basically, you want to have your goal be a means to express where you're going to direct your energy. So a social goal for Catwigs might be to help increase the sale of Catwigs, drive awareness of and engagement with Catwigs offerings on social media. The next thing you want to look at is setting SMART objectives. These would be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. These objectives ladder up to your larger goal, and they are really the KPIs that you're going to use to measure the sort of whether or not you're reaching your achieving success, essentially, and if you're on track to meet your larger goal. So we know our goal for our Catwigs. So what would objectives look like to support that? We would have something like achieve 50,000 engagements across key social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook, in FY19, or achieve a 10% increase in brand awareness year-over-year. These goals might seem a little crazy and lofty to those of you who are managing all of your social media efforts on your own. The 50,000 engagements is something that's super measurable. It's generally achievable. We're specific here because we've outlined the platforms in which we're going to count those engagements, and we're time bound because we put a year date on this. The brand awareness is probably unrealistic for most people because that's generally where you would commission an agency or a third-party company to do a baseline study of brand awareness for your overall brand, and then you would do a follow-up study to see if you actually moved the needle at all. We also do share voice reporting in Adobe, which looks at basically our total mentions in the social media ecosystem and relative to our competitors and around key terms that are important to us. So we look at share voice and then to accompany that message pull-through rate. For most of us that are just doing social media as a piece of our job, some of the things that you want to focus on would probably just be engagements. You can put tons of great content out there, but if people aren't engaging with it, chances are it's not going to do what you're hoping to do. Reach is another metric, but engagements is truly the gold star. So strategy. This is your high-level how. It's how you're going to achieve your overarching goal. It should be super high level. You don't want to get really tactical on the strategy piece. We have a whole section on tactics, but this is, again, going to speak to the direction you're moving in. So for Catwigs, what would the strategy look like? It would be establishing inspirational content and community-driven campaigns that drive awareness of engagement with the Catwig brand. We can see a lot of words starting to repeat themselves, and that's mostly, again, because we're going where everything should ladder up to that larger goal. Audience. So this is like who you're reaching. Some of these things are pretty obvious. You're going to want to care about things like location, age, gender, interest, income. Mostly because if someone's going to buy a Catwig, they probably have some disposable income. It's not exactly like super high priority, so it's a factor. In terms of figuring out who your audience is, if you have a marketing team, talk to marketing. They've probably already done a lot of work on this. They probably have personas built out and have a sense of who's buying products. If you don't have a marketing team, even if you have a marketing team, you want to do some research. So thinking about who is the audience that you're actually trying to reach on social. Also, look at your channels today. Chances are you have a bit of a social media presence. You've probably seen the types of people that are engaging with your content today, who's following your page. That's going to speak a little bit about who you may want to reach in the end. Although, there is this thing to consider that perhaps the audience you are reaching on social today isn't the audience you really want to reach on social tomorrow. So while I say look at your channels today and take that into consideration, that's only a reflection of the content that you're putting up to date, not necessarily where you want to be or who you want to reach to achieve your ultimate goal. Follow the money. So I mean this in like two ways when identifying your audience. One way, if you're totally unsure of who your audience is, what you can do is do like a pretty small, broad-reaching paid social campaign and see who's actually engaging with your content. Again, the watch out here would be to make sure that just because the people that are engaging with your content, that isn't necessarily indicative of the people you should be targeting per se. You still need to make sure that they are going to help you achieve that overarching goal. The other thing is when I say follow the money, is like who's buying your products today? Like go and talk to customers, find out what makes them tick, what they want to see on social. Talking to people is really good, and that kind of loops back to the do your research part. So I did a little research on cat ownership. This is a bit problematic though, because 30 million households own cats in America. Gen Y, so 20 to 35-year-olds are the largest group of cat homeowners. They actually just bumped out baby boomers. Fun facts for you all to go home and talk about it dinner. But baby boomers still represent 31%, which isn't like a huge disparity from the Gen Y. And in between all of that, there's 27% of all the other cat owners. So basically, what we've learned is everybody loves cats. What I would sort of dig into a little further here, but my time is limited in putting this presentation together, is okay, now that we know we have like pretty much carte blanche for reaching our audience with cat wigs, who's actually going to buy the cat wig? You might want a cat, but you might not want to dress it up. So that's where you got to dig a little deeper and figure out who those people are. And I think we all have that person. Not that you want to rely on assumptions. Okay, tactics. So this is where you really get into the detail. How are you going to reach these people and manage the channels that is involved in reaching them? So let's talk channels for a minute. Since 2010, there have been 200% growth in the number of social channels out there. I realize this image is almost useless, but it just shows you like sort of the wide breadth of all of the different social channels that have emerged over a period of time.
What's the source of that?
I'll give it to you at the end. I have it in my notes. So the social media landscape has gotten increasingly crowded, and one of the things that practitioners in this field have struggled with is like where to place bets, because there's been varied success in terms of some of these new platforms that have emerged. But one thing we have seen consistently is the major players have continued to see growth. The one thing with this is Facebook did see in 2018 its lowest year-over-year growth, and that could be two factors. One, saturation, and two, it's a shift in demographics that platform is seeing, which I'll dig into in the next slide. And Instagram, on the other hand, has surpassed 1 billion users and has seen explosive growth, like 25% a year. Twitter, on the other hand, it struggled to see growth, and it saw a bit of a spike in 2016, and I think we can all start to figure out why that might be, and also might be the reason that I moved back to Canada. That is another consideration.
You don't know those wigs.
So looking at like younger audiences, again, this slide I know might be a little hard to see, but from 2017 to 2018, those aged 12 to 34, we saw a sharp decline in how many people were joining Facebook whereas both Snapchat and Instagram have continued to see large growth within these groups. And then another study by Hootsuite, we found that 16% of 18 to 34-year-olds have said that they can't go without YouTube, only second to Facebook and Messenger. So another thing to take into consideration. I have sources for you. And then also, we're still finding that despite all of these things, half the millennials are still saying that they're following brands on social media, but for entertainment value and information, not the traditional things that you're following brands for. They're not there necessarily for contests or promotions or deals, which is also goes back to my earlier point about social media being a place to like engage your communities and show them the value that you bring, give them a flavor of your brand and what you stand for versus just constantly trying to sell. Okay, so I decided to do a Yelp-like rating or open table, if you're familiar with that, of the cost of these social platforms and what you might be getting into. Cost comes in many things. We know time is money. Whether you're curating content and not necessarily commissioning original content for these platforms, it costs money. We know Twitter being a platform for immediacy. It's great for leadership, live events, broadcast, and customer care and support. It's really good there. It's still fairly cheap to keep a Twitter account up and running. It does take your time and content curation. However, since you can link out to different content sources, it's there. Plus the ads, like if you are going to run paid social promotion, the cost on Twitter is still relatively cheap. And I say relative, just because everything's relative. Pinterest is great for imagery. It's also really great for driving sales. So I know I've been a little bit of a hater of people using social media to drive sales, but what they've shown is that like Pinterest is really, really effective at posting visual items and driving sales straight through because people go on there to search for inspiration and they want to know the source and then they go and purchase. I threw Reddit up here. Reddit's kind of like, it doesn't really fit into these mainstream platforms. It's kind of in a field of its own. But one thing we found with Reddit and some of these other aggregate channels is if you're investing in creating long-form content or have content or podcasts that appeal to a very certain group of people, Reddit's a really good way to reach them. You can find different subreddits dedicated to all the things, so it's a pretty cheap way to go on there and post and get engagements and drive engagements that way. The one call out on this would be it's Reddit. Like you really need to go in and be authentic and add value, or you're just going to get burned. So keep that in mind. My second in terms of rating, especially Instagram is a highly visual platform. Obviously, it's great for imagery and content discovery as well. We've seen a lot of success on ads, and actually the cost of ads on Instagram has gotten a lot cheaper since Facebook is being, I guess, optimizing it. And also, you've probably seen your Instagram feed is being overtaken more and more with ads. So the more there is, the cheaper it gets for everyone, I guess. LinkedIn is really the platform of choice for B2B. We know it's a great way for brands to build credibility and thought leadership in the space. It's a good way to just sort of establish your brand as a trusted leader. And it's a good way to engage leads if that's your shtick. For Facebook, again, it's still around. We know information and entertainment still work on this platform. It's great for media brands, sharing visual content, group engagement, event promotion. Those are all really where Facebook sort of plays out best. YouTube, video content's expensive. It's expensive to produce, really time-consuming for those of us that do it on our own. So that's why it's starting to get more and more into the expensive space. It's also really hard to build subscribers and think through the strategy, whether it's creating end cards that drive additional content or explicit calls to action to subscribe. There is an inherent cost to all of that. And then Snapchat. I put the most expensive here. Snapchat is not very brand friendly. The last I heard, to get even considered for the discover portion of the app for those that are familiar, I think it was like it's $250,000 US buy to just like get in the door. And it's hard to build following there. You're kind of going to lean on all of your other established social channels to build a following on Snapchat because it's not easily discoverable. So there's that, and then the bar for content is high in the sense that you have to create video content all the time, like these little micro videos, which is really time consuming and again expensive. So generally, like unless you're really trying to target a younger audience, Snapchat, or Snap, sorry, it's really actually calling it, I'm dating myself now. Snap is, yeah, I don't necessarily generally recommend it for brands, but unless you have a very big budget and a very specific younger audience.
Lindsay,
Yes.
if we're sitting here 3 years from now at PodCamp 2022,
Yeah.
which one of those would you think isn't going to be around or will be in a different, because they may be morph into something else?
Yeah.
Or somebody may take them over strategically and then close them down. You know, you had your continuum there, your timeline, and a number of them have just, whether it's InfoSpace or some of these ones that have disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those that you think that may become irrelevant?
Become irrelevant. I think we're going to continue to see these platforms evolve. I don't know if we'll see any of them disappear. I think with Snapchat, again, it's one of those things where it's seeing growth, but I'm concerned with how they're going to maintain that growth and revenue just based on how they're engaging with brands currently. So that would be one concern. Instagram, on the other hand, I think we're going to see continued growth on that platform. You can see Facebook is trying to play catch up and grab features from other things. So I think Facebook is very much in a time of transition as well. If I were, I struggle to say this because I can get really into the weeds here. If I were like a brand or a product that was going to place my bet and investing in a platform right now, it would probably be Instagram and YouTube. But I'm speaking very generically, right? Like every audience is different, and like the whole point of this strategy or building out a social media strategy is making sure that you're reaching the right audience with the right content on the right platform. So that's speaking in like total general terms. Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to actually like building out content, what you want to do is identify content sources. So like what's available to you, like what already exists, blogs, marketing materials, videos, podcast clips, like what's there, like what do you already have that you can leverage. The next thing you want to do is ideate, like what's missing, what would you want to create, what other assets would resonate with your community, and then finally optimizing those assets. You want to make sure that the content you're creating is ideal for the platform that you're distributing it on. Nothing pains me more than seeing an asset that was optimized for Twitter, full of like different hashtags and everything, directly posted on Facebook. It's lazy and it's just like, hey.
Just thinking about podcasting and not necessarily using social media. When you're talking about identify content sources, is this the phenomenon of people grabbing other people's stuff and putting a link to it or on their social media?
It can be a bit of that. I'll get into a little bit about how we kind of do some of that in Adobe currently, because we have, I think we're kind of one of those lucky brands where we have our audience is creatives. They create beautiful things and they put that out there and are proud of the tools they use. For not every brand has that advantage, but if you have a community that is creating content that supports like your overarching goal, there's nothing wrong with using that. But want to make sure that, again, whatever you're reposting is serving your goal. Because every time you post like a link out to a third-party site, you're taking them away from your brand, your messaging, and getting that sort of traffic to someone else. So whenever you can direct people back to sort of your brand presence, whether that's your own blog or what have you, or a link directly to your podcast episode, that's always going to be the better choice.
Keep them like resident on yours rather than.
Ideally, yeah. I mean, I think there's a happy balance, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with supporting people in the community. So, like, looking out to different third-party sites is good, but that shouldn't be your sole social media strategy. Again, I always hesitate to make these generalizations because it's going to be different for everyone, but yeah.
But is there like, because I'm thinking of doing podcasting where I'm telling news stories of the day or industry stuff of recent things, and if I'm seeing a story that was put on, Bloomberg, business, is there copyright stuff with the internet, with social media, where if you're telling about a story that you read somewhere else, that you have to be careful about? Attribution
is important. I don't actually, whether it's the law or not, it's just the right thing to do. Whether it's creative or it's long-form content, attribution is important. So if you're going to make reference to an article from Bloomberg, like tag Bloomberg in it, you don't even you don't want to create what I call squirrels, but mention them. Be like, Bloomberg talked about this, and then link to the original source.
And that's all you have to do, and you're good?
As long as you're providing attribution, you're fine. Like, and a lot of people will take articles, kind of maybe sum them up with their own POV on it, and then they'll link out to the original source, and they'll like treat that as a blog post as well. There's nothing wrong with covering industry.
Because I know a person who reads other people's podcasts, and he always says, with permission from from people who do blogging on certain topics, and he says, with permission from who reads their blogs, so that you can hear them rather than having to go to their site and read them.
Yeah, if you're pulling audio clips, like I think...
No, not audio clips. He's reading something that is written on somebody's blog.
Okay.
So he's always said with permission. So I just wondered if there was some kind of, if he didn't ask for permission, if he'd be in trouble.
So if you're reading something like on a recorded podcast from another source, you're getting direct permission. I know the rules on the internet, like when you're taking something and reposting it. I'm not 100% clear on the audio rules there. Perhaps this gentleman with his hand up does that?
There's something called fair use. Pardon? There's something called fair use.
Yeah.
And if I copy an article you wrote completely, just put it on my site, that's not fair use. So that you can criticize or talk about something that she wrote, and then the media that we're going to get, we do it all the time. 90% of the time we don't ask. It's covered under
But so to say, in an article written by so-and-so, they said, and then you just comment on that after, it's okay.
You can comment part of it, but if you take the whole thing and put it on your site, that's not fair use. It's plagiarizing or whatever word you use.
Yeah, plagiarism is not cool, but I think the fair use rule would apply to reading out loud. And when you have permission, it's a good way to build your network. Like that, and even when we're using user-generated content on our Adobe Instagram channel, we do ask the artist for permission to repost, even though generally we see ourselves as providing a platform and celebrating creativity. We just want to make sure everybody's cool.
Okay, thank you.
So in terms of the Catwig brand, where would I probably recommend the Catwig brand play on Pinterest? Because it's a super visual platform that I know will drive sales of my wigs, or the Catwigs, not my wigs. I swear this isn't my secret company. It's not. On Facebook, it's again a visual platform, and it hits the right demographic. And then, of course, we know that promotion on there is still cost-effective. Instagram, because it's the fastest growing platform, it's a gold mine for user-generated content. It's perfect for visuals. So yeah, and these are all actual, real examples of Catwigs on this platform, which I thought was kind of fun. So when we're thinking about about something like Pinterest, you want to like build out your boards in a way that there's topics around things that would appeal to your customer base. Highlighting community posts, so these are generated content that's posted on there on your boards because sharing on that platform is just super natural. And then if you wanted to do a giveaway, this is a great platform to do it, like a pin it to win it, to help make your content that you posted to that platform spread. So this is a quick look at our Pinterest account. We organize a lot of our content, again, by topics that appeal to our community. It kills me that everything's so pixelated in this PDF, it doesn't look as bad on the screen, but I work at a Adobe, but I'm not a designer, so forgive me for the poor designs on the slides. But anyway. Instagram. Thinking about a monthly theme is a great way to sort of frame how you're going to do your content. Coming up with a branded hashtag, and then using that branded hashtag as a call to action to get featured on your Instagram. That's another way, like in terms of talking about fair use and permission, if we put a call to action to our community, like use this hashtag for a chance to be featured, and we're literally injecting our brand into that, we see that as explicit permission to share as long as, but again, we always do that attribution. So this is a quick look at our current bio on our Instagram account. So you can see that right now we have a call to action for contest for this month. So we have a branded hashtag that we're putting out there. We actually see this as a really effective way at like engaging the community and getting them to generate content for us. And then Adobe Drawing is another one of our Instagram handles, and right now the month is, the theme for the month is floral. So we actually do this, we have, just on the Creative Cloud business, we have 6 branded Instagram handles, and a good majority of them are leaning into the monthly theme. With these various handles, they all kind of speak to a different demographic or creative segment. So the content that we get is quite varied, and the followers that we build around these channels is very varied.
You mentioned you have various identities for Adobe. Different entities.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
So you have several entities. How do you sort of measure or differentiate what are your metrics for the different handles? Are some more successful than others? How do you do that?
Yeah, like Photoshop is a verb, right? So we're like, we have 9 million followers on Twitter or on Facebook alone.
But how do you use the metrics? Like, is there an objective, subjective way that you measure the success of each one of the different?
Yeah, I mean, each business unit has its own goals for the most part, right? So, but generally for us as a social team, like we build our social strategy on 4 pillars, which is educate, inspire, inform, and support. So when we think about those, every sort of thing that we're doing on social, from a content perspective and activity perspective, we all sort of like lean into those four pillars. And that's another reason why I said I don't have, my job isn't selling subscriptions, but I will inform the community on new releases and features and things like that. I'll inspire them with like beautiful content that's done by peers. We'll educate them with how-tos, tutorials, both by members of the community and our own staff and evangelists. And then we provide support. People have problems with software all the time. So we have a huge support team that's dedicated to addressing just those issues. In terms of how we measure the success, I mean, like I said, I don't care who you are, how big your business is, our gold star is engagement. So if we're getting because engagements are really weighted back into active use of a product, and also whether or not people are interested. So whether that's podcast listens, asset downloads, the list goes on.
So it seems like a lot of these platforms, and you put a lot of emphasis on visual content, so Instagram obviously.
Yeah, you can color this occupational hazard. Yeah.
Yeah, they really lend themselves to visual stuff, but with podcasting it's auditory, so I'm just wondering if you have any ideas for, or if anybody else in the room has any ideas for coming up with visual content for some, like a medium that's not visual.
Yeah, that's like a really tricky thing. I think that there is something to be said for creating visual content from words, right? I'm sure you guys have a lot of quotable moments in a podcast that you can create into a beautiful graphic. I'm gonna, like a shameless plug, we have a product called Adobe Spark. There's also Munro, which is a similar competitor. Both of those tools you could look at. You can create really beautiful layouts by bringing in Creative Commons imagery, which is free, and then overlaying text on it. That is included with, I think, the Creative Cloud subscription, but also you can use it for free. I think it just includes the Adobe Spark watermark if you do that. But you could check that out for creating those kinds of images. Other than that, think about the subject matter that you're talking about and try to find imagery based on that. Again, Creative Commons or going out to the community and seeing what's out there, asking for permission to repost and feature on your platform is good. It doesn't have to be, say, an asset that was developed specifically for your podcast. It could be, let's say you have a guest on and they make some reference to some food or something. You can go find an image of the food or the restaurant that they talked about and then post that and be like, so-and-so said this, we found this great picture from so-and-so. Like, maybe that's like a really loose idea to work on. So for Facebook, so this might actually come not as surprising, maybe as surprising. So the native video captions is some of the best performing content creating on that platform. I say the native video captions because when you're creating video for this platform, you gotta imagine 90% of people have their sound off. Sound off is just kind of like a good way to go about creating video content for social media or any content. Assume people will not have their audio on, probably on a TTC or in a meeting, not paying attention. They don't want the audio on. 9:16, so this is also something that most people don't think about because when we're creating video, we're doing it on our desktop. Like as professionals, when we're creating video content for platforms, we're not on our phones, but our consumers are on their phones. Like most people are consuming social content on their phones. So we're seeing more and more that these social platforms are giving preference to vertical video. And while they look kind of awful from the like desktop feed of Facebook and the desktop feed of Twitter, again, most people aren't on those desktop platforms. So when they get to it and it fills up their screen, they'll beautiful light. Also, it's all about your sound. The one thing too about creating video in that format is all of a sudden you've got an asset that you can use truly cross-platform, including Instagram stories, which that's like another huge reason why I would advise a brand to invest in Instagram over a lot of platforms is because of things like Instagram stories. So yeah, 9:16 native video captions. Compelling imagery, I think that just works period everywhere, always. People like beautiful things. Long form editorial links, so if you're looking at blog posts, medium posts, things like that, that plays well on Facebook. And then live streams. That is a photo of me. I do this weekly live stream with one of our product managers on Adobe XD. My laptop's gotten a few more stickers since that photo. But yeah, and then wireframe, we created these, that's an example of, we created these things called audiograms. So maybe that's another good idea for you, which is we animated some objects which are pulled from, you can actually see our artwork in the corner here. There's objects from our show art basically that move around, and we have if you turn your audio on, you hear this person giving a quote from our podcast, but the text is appearing. So if you have your sound off, it's still a really visually compelling asset. You get the quote, it's animated, but also if you have your audio on, you do get to hear a real clip from the podcast. So that is really good. And then we can just see like a link to one of the blog posts that we posted for XP. From a tactical perspective, one thing I would encourage you to do is build out an editorial calendar. This is so important. It will keep you on track. You can do this like once a week. Obviously, it's going to change, but it'll allow you to develop a cadence. It'll allow you to wrap your head around like what you're doing on social. Consistency is key to any platform to build it up and to get success. Think about how you can leverage the community content. We've talked about some examples throughout this calendar, and then everything you approach. Get creative. Yeah.
Are you following any like 411 rules? You know, there's like so many different types of rules out there. like focus on content of your own brand versus?
No, don't do that. I would say do what works for you, right? And I mean, I think like it's like anything, like you can create rules. And rules are good because parameters are good when you're starting out. Like set yourself like rules where you'll be like, I'll do this. Like I'll post 4 pieces of original content per week, 2 will be third party, and then just see what tends to perform the best, what's resonating with your audience. The one thing, I'm trying to think, like the one sort of thing that I would consider here is like we found on Instagram, like you do want to be somewhat consistent in what you're posting, but you also don't want to spam your audience. Like right now, I don't know if anyone follows Saturday Night Live on Instagram, but they like blast everyone after a show with like 10 photos, and it's like getting really annoying to the point where like I'm gonna unfollow them. But if they give me 1 photo a day that like led up to the show for the next week, or like sort of straddle the show where they would like give me a little scene content like a couple days before Saturday, and then some like behind the scenes shots a few days following, that would be, I think, in my mind, a much better strategy, but I don't work with that, so.
So just be really conscious of curating this content thoughtfully.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there is, again, consistency is important. That balance and things like that, so your audience is gonna show you, tell you, give you, and in terms of what's gonna work. Budget, we kind of talked about this throughout, but social media is becoming increasingly a day-to-day space. I'm sure I'm not the first person that's told you this. When it comes to building audiences on different platforms or reaching people, like Facebook is almost like an entire place. If you're posting photos of cat waves, if you're lucky enough to do that for your blog, chances are you're going to get a lot of organic engagement because like there's certain things, like I hate to say it, there's like there's that rule of 3 C's, like cats, children, cancer, that they like all of those things like tend to get a lot of engagement on social for better or worse. But otherwise, the rest of us are just like struggling. Like you just think of it like you would any other marketing platform and invest in it to work. Well, I say that because it's my job. Measurement. So measurement is something you should be thinking about throughout your whole strategy, right from the get-go. Like when you're setting objectives, we need to make sure you can measure those objectives because otherwise, if you don't have the things in place to measure, you're not really going to know if what you're doing is moving the needle. I will say that there's a lot of analytics that is already built in native to the platform. So I took a snapshot, and most people don't even know about analytics.twitter.com. If you logged into Facebook or logged into Twitter, anyone can go there, even on your personal account, and get a bunch of analytics about your account. I was at a conference last week, so it makes it look like my Twitter is really impressive, but normally those numbers are all over it. But I had some like big stuff I was pushing out, so that's why it was fancy. So I was like, I'm going to include this in the deck. You'll also see there are some insights. If you have a business Instagram account, you have in your settings on Instagram, you can change your account over to a business account, and then you'll get some insights. And then on Facebook, you also have native insights. You can find out a little bit about your demographic and how people are engaging with your posts. I threw a Bitly on there too. So while you're going to get tracking numbers from all of your various platforms, I find those numbers to be a little inconsistent. In fact, if you go to Facebook's insights, they often don't match what they're showing you on your main page feed. Insights take some time to catch up. One good thing with Bitly is if you're doing more of a holistic campaign with the same piece of content across various platforms and want to just like collate all your links in one spot or only clicks you've got in one spot, creating a tracking link you use for your campaign and using that in all places is really good. And then you can hone in on the insights on individual platforms. It all depends on what the expectations are for reporting them.
Sorry, we do have to.
I know, yeah, so we made it.
We could continue things in another room as well.
Yeah, we're on time, but if anybody has any questions, I'll hang out for a little